welcome to the Wiss Mama Bear Podcast, Episode 18. I'm your host, Sarah Yacoub. Today's topic, trauma. I can't tell you how often I see comments on social media community pages attributing the crime or shenanigans that we experience in and around Hudson to being a border city. That because big, scary St. Paul and Minneapolis are only 30 minutes away, that's why we have problems. I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but while that may make us feel better about ourselves, especially those among us who think that they are better than the folks living in the cities, nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is, the alcoholism and trauma that occurs behind closed doors around here does far more harm to anyone, period. Our failure to connect the dots, to actually hold people accountable, our failure to do better by the children who are left shouldering the consequences of lousy leadership and bad public policy is a price we all pay, but is one that our children pay for the most. The challenge with trauma and talking about it is that it is so deeply personal, raw, and understandably provokes a lot of painful emotions. Because we as an adult population aren't exactly equipped with the emotional intelligence to deal with or cope with the vulnerability and pain, we too often jump to the secondary emotion of anger. Anger feels tough. It provides the illusion of strength. We've been conditioned to think crying is weak, but anger is safe. To the extent that we're continuing to pass this way of thinking on to our children, shame on us. I digress. To talk about that which is really hurting our community means talking about that to which people will respond in anger. For example, last weekend, Hudson experienced 4 deaths in one weekend, 3 car collisions, and 1 murder. We've had 9 traffic fatalities to date in 2020, and it is December. If you want a fun experiment, go to the St. Croix County Sheriff's Facebook page, find the post on our traffic fatalities, and pose the question: how many of those 9 traffic fatalities are drug or alcohol related? Will groves of equally concerned residents join in support of the question? No. More like grumpy antisocial responses written as though geared to shut down the conversation, or at least make it clear to anyone watching that questions like this will not be tolerated around here. Why are we insulating the continuation of more avoidable deaths? Because doing something about it cramps the style of those who would rather not have hard conversations about the high costs of local alcoholism in this community. Why have hard conversations when we can just keep drinking? I mean, it's circular in logic, but you get the point. The pain that runs through our communities is so deep that it's become like a mountain. Rather than meaningfully work to climb it, we've become content sitting at the base of the mountain drinking ourselves into numbness. Even better, those especially threatened by hard conversations sit at the base of the mountain and throw rocks at anyone working to make that climb for better. At the risk of the vitriol and demonization that will follow by those who would rather I not talk about this, I dive into the following. I do so because a young man's life has now become collateral damage, which is a tragedy that was not only avoidable, but something to work to make sure doesn't keep happening. My heart breaks for those personally connected to this tragedy. To the extent that it hurts, please know that I am so sorry for your pain. The cost of not talking about it, however, is so much bigger and something that affects us all. So, here we go. In February of 2017, a local mother was viciously stabbed to death by her adult son. Her younger son, a senior in high school, witnessed it. He himself was badly beaten by his stepbrother and suffered a head injury as a result. He was only 17. While no formal filings, there's no shortage of rumors about this young man's father, his battle with alcohol, and the pain he caused his family. His father's brother, his uncle, is actually about to be released from prison for nearly killing his wife. This 17-year-old graduated high school, and to this day lists the home in which he watched his mother's murder as his address. This young man graduated high school in June of 2017. If only that were the measure of whether someone is truly okay. You probably already know this, but of course he's not okay. I'm biting back tears as I talk through this, as I can only imagine the fear, the pain, the confusion, the trauma, the anger that he must have felt. And it's soul-crushing. This young man embarked on a predictable path of self-destructive behavior. Despite numerous opportunities for intervention from the local system, numerous run-ins with law enforcement, numerous appearances before local judges, numerous opportunities for the local DA's office to handle his cases in a way that addresses his trauma and helps him move forward. Our local system failed this kid. Now, as we approach 4 years later, he's pending trial. As I understand it, if he had access to live-in rehabilitative services, he would go there. Because he's an adult without health insurance, because he doesn't have access to thousands of dollars to make bail, he's looking at prison. This is not only tragic, but incredibly stupid. We as taxpayers are going to pay upwards of $40,000 a year to put this broken, traumatized young man in a cage. For what? To further his trauma? We as a system have failed this young man. So, oh well, throw him, his life, his future away? No, not good enough. Do better. Elect those who promise to increase access to affordable health care. Stop electing them when that promise turns out to be a giant throne of lies. Elect those who have the experience to understand and who vocally prioritize the role of trauma to lead our local justice system. Did you know we have a judge who jails people for pot? Yep, right here in St. Croix County. But beat your wife to within inches of her life, traumatize your children, terrorize people in furtherance of rage made uglier by alcohol, and he'll make excuses for you as he sentences you to probation, maybe even a diversion. You be good for a year and we'll forget this ever happened. We had another judge who couldn't have been a bigger softy on sexual assault of children or of rape of grown women. Did these guys ever have issues getting reelected? No. We don't talk about the hypocrisy of election words not meeting actions once elected around here. Why not? What are you afraid of? I get it. Politics suck. Talking about tragedies in the context of politics is the forbidden, quote, making it political. What does that even mean? Everything is political. Just because we're not paying attention doesn't make it not so. So if this is pissing you off, sorry, not sorry. This conversation is long overdue. Lousy leadership hurts everyone. Bad public policy hurts everyone. Who we elect to lead matters. Spoiler alert, those who run on being, quote, tough on crime are the biggest softies on crime I've ever seen, with a caveat. That caveat is that if it benefits them politically to make an example of someone who isn't represented by the right attorney, someone who isn't a prominent or affluent member of the community, someone whom they can pound into the ground without it hurting them politically, they'll do it. Too bad some of those terrorizing their families and sexually assaulting women and children do have money and are big fish in a little pond. I often wonder if those who keep voting for the enablers of domestic terrorists really don't know that, quote, tough on crime is a lie, or if they do know and just go with it for any number of varying reasons. I wonder what those reasons could be. As an attorney for survivors of trauma, I cannot tell you how many times children get sent back into the care of someone who is just not safe emotionally or physically to be entrusted with the child. Ask someone on the street, should rapists be awarded custody of children? Obvious answer, right? Come shadow me in court on a few of my cases. It's eye-opening. For those out there who don't intrinsically know what I'm talking about when I mention domestic terrorists, here are a few crash course forms of entertainment that will get you up to speed. Take a look at the movie Invisible Man, Enough, Sleeping with the Enemy. Watch or read Big Little Lies, an HBO series. Anyone want to raise their hand that they think the power and control sociopaths depicted should be entrusted with the child? How about a baby? I didn't think so. And yet, here we are, a place that routinely sends innocent, helpless children back to literal hell. What happens when they're begging not to go, crying, refusing to get into the car? We as a system go after the parent who isn't traumatizing their children. You see, domestic terrorists don't walk into court and announce they are traumatizing and terrorizing their families behind closed doors, and are too cowardly to face their demons to actually heal and stop. They generally have money. They generally have an attorney who has no problem demonizing the other parent as a trial strategy. Because let's face it, what else are they going to say? I always wondered how it is that money lets people sleep at night or look at themselves in the mirror. Turns out it doesn't. It's the alcohol that greases those wheels. Attorneys as a profession have a lot of alcoholism. Is this stuff fun to talk about? No, obviously. But what is the cost of more of the same? At one point it was heroin overdoses, now it's suicides. Antisocial, self-destructive behavior is a predictive response to powerlessness and exposure to chronic trauma. Our local system is so badly broken. If you're wondering why I'm so pissed, It's because we have public servants like Patty Shackner, who understands trauma, who works in suicide prevention and mental health, who shows up to work, who is wise and actually cares about people. And we lose her to lazy, gluttonous fat cats who care more about keeping their party bosses happy than doing right by the people. And no, these fat cats do not begin to have the experience or inclination to tackle something like local trauma. Maybe that's why we like them. Rob and Shannon are the guys who run for student body president in high school promising soda in the drinking fountains. Never mind that would rot everyone's teeth, contribute to obesity, and give everyone diabetes. It's cool, dude. Party on. Maybe we as a community elect the people who don't actually do anything because we aren't ready to put in the work that strong leadership would entail. I guess the question I have for folks then is, what is your end game? We keep playing Russian roulette and just hope it's not our kid the next time a predictable consequence of our choice to empower weak leaders and bad public policy comes to call? What kind of community do we want to leave our children? If we want to leave them with a place to which our kids want to return to raise their own kids, then it's time to step up and do the work that leaves them with an impression other than how deeply trauma runs in this town behind all of our pretty lights. Episode 19 tomorrow. See you there.